This is the story of Henry, a curious boy who lived in a small village on the outskirts of a huge, ancient forest. One afternoon, while playing near the forest, Henry noticed a deer trying to push its way out of a hole in the ground. As the deer struggled, it knocked over a nearby rock monolith, revealing a narrow cave opening that was glowing with a strange blue light. Henry cautiously approached the opening and peered inside. The passage was so narrow that his headlamp couldn't reach the end of it, but he could see strange markings on the walls that seemed to be moving. Then, as he watched in amazement, the markings formed a swirling vortex of sand and wind. Before Henry knew what was happening, he was sucked into the passage and tumbled through a tunnel of blinding white light. When he finally landed, he sat up and brushed himself off, realizing that he had just traveled back in time to the heart of an ancient Indian civilization. The year was 327 BCE and the place was the great city of Pataliputra, the capital of the mighty Mauryan Empire. Stunned by what he saw before him, Henry took a moment to soak in the majestic temples, bustling markets and people in elaborate royal attire. As he walked through the city, he soon realized that the people were in deep trouble because something very important was vanishing every single night. At first, they didn't pay much attention. After all, their kingdom was so vast, and their wealth so great that they assumed whatever was missing would turn up somewhere else. But Henry knew this wasn't the case. As he continued exploring the city, he learned that King Ashoka, the wise ruler of the Mauryan Empire, was determined to find out what was happening. But despite his best efforts, nothing could be done about it. Days turned into weeks and Henry still couldn't figure out where he was or how to get home. That was when he met a young woman named Maya, who told him about a sacred cave on the outskirts of the city that was said to be guarded by a fearsome demon. Intrigued, Henry decided to investigate and soon found the entrance to the cave. But as he approached, he felt a sudden surge of energy and collapsed to the ground. When he looked up, he saw a swirling vortex of sand and wind, just like the one he had seen in the passage back in his own time. And then it hit him. The cave was a time machine. He had traveled from the year 2025 to ancient India. But how could he possibly return home? As he stood there contemplating his next move, Henry heard a voice behind him. Well, if it isn't the little thief who has been stealing away our treasures." Henry turned around to see a group of men blocking his path. "I haven't stolen anything," he protested. "I'm just a traveler who has lost his way." But the men didn't believe him. They thought he was responsible for the missing artifacts and dragged him to the nearest jail. Henry's hopes of ever returning home were fading fast. Would he be trapped in ancient India forever? To be continued in part 2.